So today I want to talk about some of the blowback from Donald Trump's decision to pull American troops out of Syria. And so the obvious would be one of them would be the Kurds, but that's not, my focus is on Israel. That you do not work with Israel's enemies behind Israel's back to harm Israel, either intentionally or unintentionally. You just don't do it, because your demise could end up being like that of Balaam. So what I want to do, first of all, I'm going to get started by with screen share here. And take a look at this on debka.com. Syrian Kurds may release 3,200 ISIS captives. Why? Commanders of the Kurdish-led democratic forces warned Friday that the U.S. Army pulls out of Syria. After the U.S. Army pulls out of Syria, more than 3,000 local and foreign ISIS prisoners held in their detention camps at Deir ez-Zor region of eastern Syria may be freed. Why? The Kurds are considering withdrawing from Deir ez-Zor and moving north, ready to repel the Turkish army's advance into East Euphrates. I mean, what did the president think was going to happen? He said that ISIS has been defeated, and then agreeing to do this, hand it over to Turkey, which is where ISIS came from anyway, or much of it, would force the Kurds to stop doing the U.S.'s dirty work, holding these the ISIS prisoners in prisons. They'd have to set them free or kill them, one or the other. We should kill them, but then again, it is not my duty to judge. But after what they had done, it's only fitting. But of course, the whole world would condemn the Kurds for doing to ISIS what ISIS did to other people. Because the Kurds fighting the Turkish army's advance in the East Euphrates would leave the detention camps unguarded. Of course it would. So whose fault would that be? Any ideas? So there's that. Then there is this. No sooner than it was discovered, this underhanded, covert, behind Israel's back move to hand over east of the Euphrates to Turkey, this happens. Jewish News Syndicate. President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, warned a group of Kurdish youths that Jews in Israel beat Palestinian women and children, that Turkey will confront them. No, Turkey's no threat to Israel. That's what the U.S. State Department says. Well, I don't know, but it is written in several passages in the scripture, that which the heart is full of, the mouth speaks. Whatever. They thought that Adolf Hitler wasn't going to do anything either. The Jews in Israel kick people when they're lying on the ground, which is absolutely false. In fact, Jews kick not only men, but also women and children. As Muslims, we will confront these people. If they have the courage to deal with us, we'll teach them a lesson, Erdogan said at a meeting at a Turkish Youth Foundation just 3 months before national elections. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responds on Twitter that Erdogan, the occupiers of northern Cyprus, whose army massacres women and children in Kurdish villages inside and outside of Turkey, shouldn't preach to Israel. Earlier this month, Netanyahu told a foreign ministry conference that relations between Turkey had improved and that instead of every 2 days, Erdogan now calls me Hitler only every 6 days. Despite the fact that Turkey has received several warnings from Israeli intelligence that prevented major terror attacks on Turkish soil. Yes. So no matter how many decent and honorable things that Israel does for Turkey, the Turkish leader still spouts off his hatred at Israel, just like the king of Moab did in the days of Balaam. You see. Oh, and what have we here? This is on Sputnik News. I know Sputnik News is not a very reliable source, but I have another source as well. Macron voices deep regret over U.S. decision to withdraw troops from Syria. Paris. French Economics Affairs Minister Nathalie Loiseau claimed that Paris would maintain, they're going to stay, yes, its military presence in Syria, while French Defense Minister Florence Parly refused to confirm that statement. France will continue to be involved in the Eastern Mediterranean. As for a question concerning our U.S. allies, I deeply regret the U.S. decision on Syria, Macron said at a joint press conference with his shady and counterpart, Idris Deby. Okay, but anyway, the president stressed that being allies meant to fight shoulder to shoulder, stating nobody should forget about the Syrian democratic forces fighting against terrorists in the region. You see where this is going, right? Right. What will happen is Europe, Roman Europe, and Turkey will take over where the U.S. left off, you see. And what does Roman Europe, Turkey, and Russia and Iran all have in common? Does anybody know? Oh, their rabid hatred for the Jews in Israel. If you are well studied in the scriptures, you should know what this smells like. France to stay. This is on the daily Hurriyet. Yes, Hurriyet. Turkish news, folks. Hurriyet Daily News. France to stay in Syria after U.S. troops ordered home. And this is the same, basically the same story. And you will see, folks, you're going to see a major shift in the Middle East while the U.S. pulls out. All the rest of Israel's enemies will flow in. Then at the right time, what is it? Zechariah 12, Zechariah 14, Zechariah 9, Joel 2, Joel 3. Yes, all of them. Now, one might ask, Henry, why are you so upset with Donald Trump for allowing this to happen? It's not that I'm upset with Donald Trump for allowing this to happen, but in the way that he conducted himself against Israel. That is why I am upset with him. As I pointed out, no discussions with Israel concerning these matters. And the greatest, which means doing it behind Israel's back, working with Israel's enemies, namely Turkey, behind Israel's back. And here's the thing. That's just one of them. Here's the thing. Now the U.S. is going to own what Turkey does by making this agreement with Turkey to take over the East Mediterranean. I mean, east of the Euphrates River. Of course they're going to jump the Euphrates River. But the U.S. government says, oh, no, they agreed. Agreed. They lie. You actually believe anything that comes out of the mouth of Erdogan, U.S. State Department. You actually believe anything that comes out of the mouth of that man, except for one thing, his hatred for Israel. And then coming up with this absolutely foolish peace scam of the century, in which, well, Jerusalem is taken off the table now. And for that, Israel is going to have to give up a lot. That is quoting President Donald Trump, and he said it more than once. Oh, no, Mr. Trump, Israel is not going to give up anything. And using two Jews to, how do I put this? Commit an offense against the new covenant for Israel. I want to go to Matthew 18 and verse 7. Woe unto the world because of offenses. It must needs that offenses come. In other words, offenses must come. But woe to that man by whom the offense comes. Now, I want to show you a little different translation. New Living Translation says, what sorrow awaits the world because it tempts people to sin. Temptations are inevitable. But what sorrow awaits the person who causes the temptation. So Jehovah's wrath is going to be on those who lead people into temptation to commit offenses. And this peace scam is an offense. And Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, you led two Jews into temptation to commit an offense against the new covenant for Israel. You did, with your fake, false peace scam of the century. You said that President Donald Trump says that ISIS is defeated. Well, if you go and leave the Kurds in a lurch, who are holding ISIS as prisoners for you, who are doing your dirty work for you, then you go and turn around and abandon them. And of course, Turkey wants its foot soldiers back, wants their ISIS foot soldiers back. They're going to come after the Kurds, so the Kurds are going to have to abandon the prisons and fight against Turkey on their own. And you say that ISIS has been defeated. Want to know the truth? There is nobody in the Middle East. Okay, let me rephrase that. There is nobody operating in Syria and Iraq that really wants to defeat ISIS. Because if it were true, they would have been defeated a long time ago. So there are other things at work here, folks. Now that the U.S. has pulled out, expect Turkey France, UK, Germany, the EU to take the place as the mediator, as the Western power in the Middle East. And of course, that would fit right with Scripture. All of Israel's enemies must be brought to the Holy Land for judgment. So, once again, woe to the world for temptations to sin. For it is necessary that temptations would come, or I should read, it is impossible but that temptations, it would be impossible that temptations wouldn't come. It's going to happen no matter what. But woe to the one by whom the temptation comes. If the shoe fits, wear it.